In this tutorial, I'll demonstrate how to install and configure Skedler Alerts on the Linux platform. In this example, I have Elasticsearch and Kibana installed. Details on installing and configuring ELK and Kibana can be found on their official websites. The Linux version of Skedler can be downloaded from the Skedler website. The first step is to untar the skedler.tar.gz file to the desired folder. Here's the command for this. Next, I'll switch to the Alert Home folder and execute this command to provide the required permission to install. Installing Skedler Alerts is done with this command. Now that Skedler Alerts is installed, I'll work on the initial configuration. The configuration settings for Skedler Alerts are stored in the alertconfig.yml file, which is located in the config folder. I need to edit the configuration file to point to Elasticsearch as the data source. To do that, I'll first run this command to open the file. Now that I'm inside the alertconfig.yml file, I can add the Elasticsearch URL with the port. My initial configuration process is complete. As long as Elasticsearch and Kibana have already been launched, I can now launch Skedler as well. I'll enter this command to launch Skedler. And to verify that Skedler is active, I'll execute this command. I can see here that the Skedler status is active. When I'm ready to stop Skedler, I would execute this command. Now that Skedler is launched, I'll open my browser and go to this URL, which loads my Skedler Alerts homepage. I now have to configure my alerts settings. The first step is to define my time zone, then click Save. Now I'll enable email notifications, then enter my outgoing server, sender email, and port. I'll enable SSL and password, then click Save. I could also click Advanced to define proxy settings and folder paths. Next, I'll open the Index Patterns step. I'll enter this pattern name after verifying that this index pattern is in the alert index. Next, I'll open Scheduled Alerts, where currently there is nothing scheduled. I'll click Create, then Alert. In Alert Details, I'll assign the name Inbound IP from India, choose the index I defined in the previous step, and set the index type and time field. Alert Conditions is where I define the conditions that will trigger the alert. In this example, alerts will be triggered when the result count exceeds 10 and the country is India. The time window is the last 15 minutes, and I have the option to set prior conditions. So, in other words, this condition will trigger an alert once more than 10 IP hits come in from India within the last 15 minutes. In Schedule Details, I could define the frequency of alerts. And under Alert Actions, I could specify alert email recipients and set up a custom email message. I'll save these settings, and now my alerts dashboard shows the alert I just set up. I can use the icons on the right to edit, turn scheduling on or off, clone, or add tags.